Welcome back. You're watching Today, and chicken importers and local producers have been clucking at each other over import tariffs for years now. Now, with the bird flu outbreak, that debate is once again ruffling feathers. Importers are once again calling for the reduction or elimination of tariffs due to the inevitable shortages. Government may be capitulating as it looks to rebating tariffs. It's also considering removing anti-dumping duties for now. Francois Baird from the anti-dumping trade movement FairPlay believes this will effectively cull the industry. He joins us now with more from Washington, D.C. A very good afternoon from our side to you this day, Francois. Tell us a little bit about your big concerns when it comes to this importing debate and the tariffs that are associated.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having us on. The importers are a bit like the English rugby team crying foul after the event about penalties when they've been committing the penalties during the match. Anti-dumping duties are levied in terms of the rules of the WTO. It's not something cooked up by the South African government or local producers. And local producers are highly competitive. Every year, they are independently rated as amongst the 5 or 6 most competitive in the world. And so the issue is not about how competitive we are. The issue is not even about the shortage, because last week the South African Poultry Association made a presentation to Parliament where they explained that they've taken all kinds of measures to take care of the shortage, and that in fact by the end of November or after the end of November, the shortage would be taken care of. And these included things like cutting exports, like South Africa's trading partners to the north of the country, not allowing the import of chickens from South Africa. So all of these matters have been dealt with. The issue now is about allowing importers to make enormous profits once again. We saw before that when the anti-dumping duties were cut for a year by Minister Patel, it didn't stop prices rising. In fact, the only effect it had was to cut jobs in South Africa. And therefore, we believe what should be done is to compensate South Africa's producers, firstly for having to cull something like 7.5 million chickens during the avian flu outbreak, and secondly, also to assist them for the problems they face with load shedding and transport and water and other infrastructure that is not being provided as it should by government. And therefore, we believe the best thing to do is, if government wants to help consumers, it's to scrap value-added tax on local chicken. And secondly, if government wants to help local chicken farmers, it would be to compensate them for their losses. And perhaps one should start looking at other measures that could also be taken to help them with the extra costs that they have when the chicken importers make fat profits.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult debate because we are looking at a myriad of issues that we are facing in the poultry industry. And while you speak about the fact that we won't necessarily experience a shortage, there have been concerns about the price of chicken and that the imports could help mitigate with those prices. Now, I know you've indicated that in the past, the price hasn't been impacted, but with the difficulties that are being faced by local producers now, the higher cost of production and doing business, the avian flu, load shedding, the list is long. Can't we find some form of a balance between local producers and importers? Or are you confident as FairPlay that cutting VAT and giving compensation to local producers is the best way to deal with this?
Well, of course, at FairPlay, we're not against imports per se. We're against breaking the rules of the WTO. So the anti-dumping duties that are a penalty for breaking the rules should not be touched at all. It shouldn't have been touched in the first place. Secondly, there is no way that tariffs will actually improve the pricing situation for consumers, because already, even with the current situation, the importers have fat profit margins. They price the chicken in the shops at close to the chicken that's locally produced. And the reason for that is because they can absorb any kind of penalty and tax almost because of their extra fat profit margins. And therefore, the best way to help consumers is to cut value-added tax. Value-added tax will immediately provide consumers with a price cut, and that's what's needed.
Is this a conversation that is happening at the moment around value-added tax? I mean, we do have our midterm budget policy statement coming up in a few days, and I wonder if it's something that has been seriously considered by the government and related authorities here.
It's a conversation that's been going on for a long time. As you recall, there was the Woolard Commission to look into value-added tax, the tax basket. They came to no conclusion. They didn't say yes or no. Now, and ever since, we've had more and more support from trade unions, from even the Democratic Alliance, the opposition, and from newspaper editorials where the newspaper editors also supported the idea. And I think the more South Africans can say to the government, cut value-added tax on the most preferred protein of the nation, 66%, that should be done. This is not a matter of one side or the other side. It's simply a matter that's in the interest of the nation. And by the way, by keeping the anti-dumping levies, it could help to pay for the revenue that's lost to the state by cutting value-added tax on locally produced chicken.
Thank you very much for those insights, and of course we'll continue to have discussions of this nature as we see developments around the poultry industry and the issues that it's had to grapple with. Thank you there to Francois Baird, who's the FairPlay founder, joining us from Washington, D.C. this hour.